Now, don't take this the wrong way, but you are a Terminator, right?
Yes. Cyberdyne Systems Model 101.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the cinematic follow-ups that manage to outshine their predecessors in almost every way. We'll only be focusing on the second installments of these particular franchises, so threequels and later entries need not apply.
Should we turn it round and run him into our backup?
No! We're good! We bang it!
Number 30, From Russia with Love.
For this, we need the services of a female member of the Russian cryptograph section in Turkey and the help of the British Secret Service.
1962's Dr. No introduced millions of viewers to one of the greatest characters in all of fiction, but the formula was perfected the following year. Unburdened by the campy excess that would pin down future installments, From Russia with Love finds Sean Connery's James Bond as a more lived-in yet no less ultra-suave secret agent. This second installment marks the franchise's first appearance of Spectre, and sees Bond go toe-to-toe with a slew of memorable baddies to obtain a valuable decoding mechanism. Although light on the iconic gadgetry, the action sequences hold up incredibly well, managing to be fun without losing their grasp on the severity of what's at stake. In other words, this is everything a James Bond movie should aspire to be.
James, behave yourself. We are being filmed.
Oh, not again.
Number 29, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
To some, an outlaw. To more, a hero. To all, a legend.
This swashbuckling feline's first spin-off adventure was a welcome shakeup after the latter two Shrek installments produced diminishing critical returns. Nevertheless, The Last Wish proved there was more to this franchise than we ever thought possible. Taking cues from the likes of Into the Spider-Verse and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, it places Puss in a race against time to restore his 9 lives. The Last Wish is a fairy tale quite literally brought to life through its marvelous blend of 2D and 3D animation, its quirky spin on well-known characters, and its thoughtful meditation on mental health and mortality. It's an unabashedly mature story with the courage to treat viewers who grew up with the franchise as the adults they now are.
Gracias, Del Mar. You've been great. Get home safely. Good night.
Number 28, Addams Family Values.
Oh, Wednesday's at that very special age when a girl has only one thing on her mind. Boys.
Homicide.
They're creepy and they're kooky, and there's never too many of them to go around. That's what makes the addition of Uncle Fester's conniving new wife Debbie one of the many delights of this Addams Family sequel. Joan Cusack and Christopher Lloyd complement each other far too well as a couple destined for doom, bringing out the madness in one another for a hilariously electrifying climax. But Addams Family Values also brings its A-game in the first 2 acts, especially when it comes to Wednesday and Pugsley. With the siblings turning a snobby summer camp into their own nightmarish wonderland, the movie employs the same demented sense of humor as the 60s TV series to even greater effect.
I don't want to be in the pageant.
Don't you want to help me realize my vision?
Your work is puerile and underdramatized. You lack any sense of structure, character, or the Aristotelian unities.
Charles Addams would be proud. Number 27, Before Sunset.
No, I liked it.
Yeah?
It's very romantic. I usually don't like that, but it's really well written. It's really well written. I really, congratulations.
The authenticity of this second chapter in Richard Linklater's Before trilogy can be felt both on screen and off. Before Sunset took about as many years to come together as it did for its 2 protagonists to find one another again, but Linklater's patience and delicate approach more than pays off. Trading in Vienna for Paris, the writer-director managed to wring out even more profound ideas than before. Star-crossed lovers Jesse and Celine reunite by chance as if no time has passed, but Before Sunset finds their incredible connection grow even stronger because of that passage of time.
I mean, when I read the article, I thought your life was perfect. A wife, a kid, published author. Your personal life is more of a mess than mine.
Linklater's observant direction and use of real time sets the stage for honest yet hopeful conversations about life, love, and all the changes that come with both. Number 26. Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back ribs. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back ribs.
Mike Myers' initial outing as the Bond-spoofing spy became something of a cult classic thanks to its enormous success on home video. The increasing popularity of Austin Powers allowed his second adventure to become a phenomenon that grossed almost 10 times its budget. Throwing time travel into the mix, The Spy Who Shagged Me places Austin and the nefarious Dr. Evil back in the swinging 60s for another round of laughs amid world domination. The Spy Who Shagged Me places Austin and the nefarious Dr. Evil back in the swinging 60s for another round of laughs amidst world domination.
Here's your wedding present, Mr. Powers. A kamikaze bride from me, Dr. Evil.
Both hero and villain are still fish out of water, but Myers' unapologetic brand of self-aware, raunchy comedy is broadened for greater appeal. The pop culture references are killer, and the soundtrack is certifiably groovy, while characters like Mini-Me have transcended the franchise every bit as much as the titular character. Number 25. Dawn of the Dead. On paper, it sounds awfully difficult to top the movie that made zombies a household name, but George A. Romero made it look easy with this standalone follow-up to Night of the Living Dead.
All right, Trooper. You better screw your head on.
Yeah, come on. Let's go!
I mean it, man! Now, you're not just playing with your life, you're playing with mine.
Whereas Romero's initial effort created its most effective horrors through containment, Dawn of the Dead took the fright factor to the next level by expanding the zombie apocalypse to the rest of the world. Set mostly around a group of survivors in an abandoned mall, Dawn is arguably the zombie subgenre at its most gory and its most oddly funny. Between Tom Savini's legendary makeup work and Romero's dedication to political undertones, Dawn treats the apocalypse as a terrifying possibility, yet somehow finds the fun in it as well.
Jesus Christ, Peter.
I don't want to go. I really don't.
Number 24. The Raid 2.
Kamu kerjanya bagus hari ini. Mereka memang pantas dikasih pelajaran seperti itu. Benar itu.
How exactly can you hope to top a feature-length action extravaganza? It's really quite simple. Make everything so much bigger and badder that it becomes an action epic. That's precisely what this Indonesian duology did with its thrilling second act.
Bagus lu udah keluar. Gue utang budi sama lu, Cok. Udah banyak bantu gue di dalam. Sampein ke bokap lu, Cok. Makasih banget. Lu sampein aja sendiri.
Picking up right where its predecessor left off, The Raid 2 pits undercover cop Rama against various crime syndicates in a quest for vengeance and justice after a personal tragedy. Leaving the protagonist with nothing to lose, gives director Gareth Evans permission to go all out in his firm commitment to unflinchingly brutal fight choreography. With his mastery of martial arts, series star Iko Uwais holds his own against every dirty opponent he faces, solidifying Rama as a hero worth rooting for until the gritty end. Number 23. Top Gun Maverick. When it comes to high-octane action, Tom Cruise is one of the best in the business.
That is one hell of a steep climb out of there, exposing you to all the surface-to-air missiles. Or you survive that, it's a dogfight all the way home.
Even so, it's fair to say that not even the Top Gun alums' biggest fans were prepared for just how breathtaking his follow-up to the 1986 classic turned out to be. Cruise returned to the cockpit as Pete Mitchell with the coolest of ease, while a promising slate of up-and-comers led by Miles Teller and Glenn Powell helped level the playing field.
There's more than one way to fly this mission.
You really don't get it. On this mission, a man flies like Maverick here, or a man does not come back.
And that's to say nothing of Top Gun Maverick's unrivaled action from up above. An old school experience with new school execution, every flight has big time stakes for everyone involved, ensuring that we're left in awe until the last jet lands safely. Number 22. John Wick Chapter 2.
Мир.
Такой фраер хочет бить, нет предела.
Instead of the hastily edited, incoherent mess many were prepared to write it off as, 2014's John Wick delivered a surprisingly personal story with beautiful camera work and even better gunplay. The bar was definitely set for Keanu Reeves and director Chad Stahelski to replicate their success, and they were more than up to the challenge. John Wick Chapter 2 is a sequel with enough intelligence to know that not much about the franchise's formula needed to be changed. Rather, it amplifies our connection to the Baba Yaga by expanding the mythology surrounding the Continental and intensifying the choreography on a grander scale. Though he takes a few blows along the way, Chapter 2 convinced us that absolutely nothing could stand in Wick's way.
Jonathan? Winston.
Number 21. Deadpool II. If the current age of superhero cinema has proven anything, it's this. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. The actor's natural fusion of his own sardonic wit with the irreverent mercenary's potty mouth and fourth wall breaks made his 2016 solo outing an unprecedented success. Unsurprisingly, the follow-up produced even more satisfying receipts than before. The merc with a mouth commands the spotlight once again, but he's backed up by a strong ensemble of accomplices led by Josh Brolin's hilariously deadpan Cable.
You remind me of my wife.
I'm sorry?
I said you remind me.
No, I'm sorry that you said that while making heavy eye contact and applying lip balm.
Deadpool 2 takes the self-awareness up to an 11 without ever seeming repetitive or drawn out, finding plenty of new targets to keep us entertained. Plus, we dare you to find an MCU film with a better mid-credits sequence than this movie's.
Look, eventually, you're gonna hang up the claws, and it's gonna make a lot of people very sad.
Huh?
But one day, your old pal Wade's gonna ask you to get back in the saddle again.
Number 20. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Although Rise of the Planet of the Apes was a surprisingly decent reboot of the classic sci-fi series, its origin story plot left something to be desired. Incoming director Matt Reeves brought that something with Dawn in 2014. He created a bleak post-apocalyptic world in which the surviving members of the human race clash with the burgeoning ape society.
Apes! Do not want war, but will fight if we must.
By placing more emphasis on the apes, the film offered a compellingly nuanced contrast between apes and humans. The movie also had a political storyline worthy of the lead ape Caesar's name. And it was absolutely thrilling to boot. We mean, come on, apes on horses, anyone? Keeping the momentum, the series would only get better again with 2017's War for the Planet of the Apes. Number 19. The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. There wasn't much to complain about when The Hunger Games was adapted in 2012, especially since they nailed the casting of Katniss Everdeen with Jennifer Lawrence. But Gary Ross's guerrilla-esque direction to the action sequences was somewhat frustrating. Another sequel to be improved by a new director, Catching Fire benefited hugely from the addition of Francis Lawrence, who, by the way, is not related to Jennifer. His brisk, crisp visuals gave the games the cinematic treatment they so rightly deserved. In addition, this is where the series started to see big picture, and incorporated a slew of fresh faces to make the rebellion subplot that much more dynamic.
You have been our mission from the beginning.
The plan was always to get you out.
Half the tributes were in on it. This is the revolution, and you are the Mockingjay.
It's just a shame the bar wouldn't continue to rise in the other sequels. Number 18. 22 Jump Street. 21 Jump Street was the comedic reboot we never knew we needed back in 2012. The unexpectedly hilarious pairing of Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum made for a kinetic film. Since the high school setting was subversive and fun, the idea of taking the pair to college didn't seem too avant-garde.
You two sons of bitches are going to college.
Yes! No!
Directors Phil Lord and Christopher Miller injected the sequel with the same levels of comedic freshness. They also poked fun at the process of sequel making in a similarly shrewd wink-wink kind of way.
So now this department has invested a lot of money to make sure Jump Street keeps going. We've doubled their budget, as if spending twice the money guaranteed twice the profit.
Even if the movies remain tied in those estimations, the end credit sequence at the end of 22 Jump Street breaks it with the hilariously endless slew of fake sequels.
Work hard, play hard. You may not want to quit your day job. Undercover, on the loose, don't let her recognize your face card.
Number 17, Gremlins II, The New Batch. This one might be a little controversial, as the first film is an esteemed classic, but hear us out. The first Gremlins proved to be a solid introduction to the title creatures with a relatively simple plot and execution. But Gremlins 2 saw the full realization of the concept. Unencumbered by origin story dynamics, the sequel devoted its attention to poking fun at consumerism and corporate culture.
Oh, we may stumble along the way, but civilization, yes. The Geneva Convention, chamber music, Susan Sontag. Everything your society has worked so hard to accomplish over the centuries, that's what we aspire to. We want to be civilized.
Allegories aside, the film is also simply more enjoyable. The meta commentary alone reaches Deadpool levels of self-awareness.
Okay, you guys, listen up. People pay good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth.
It unfortunately floundered at the box office, so the prospects of a third film have remained in our hopes and dreams for 3 decades and counting. Number 16, Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. How did this not get another sequel? Though 2004's Hellboy wasn't the most faithful comic book adaptation, it was wholly Guillermo del Toro's creative vision come to life. Hellboy 2: The Golden Army took his vibrant vision even further. Del Toro's signature dark fantasy stylings become more dynamic and pronounced. Furthermore, the interpersonal relationships felt much more relatable and endearing.
You came along, just like a star, and brightened my day.
The prospect of Hellboy and Liz starting a family, or the adorable courtship between Abe Sapien and the Princess Nuala, were particular standouts. The sequel also planted the seeds of a fascinating conclusion to the would-be trilogy that, as we mentioned, never came to fruition.
It is his destiny to bring about the destruction of the Earth. Not now, not tomorrow, but soon enough.
Instead, we were treated to a lifeless reboot. Number 15, Bride of Frankenstein. It's difficult to make a case for a sequel to one of the landmark horror movies in cinema history, but we're gonna give it a shot anyway. Before further sequels ran the team-up concept into the ground by pairing the Green Meanie with the Wolfman or Abbott and Costello, there was Bride of Frankenstein.
She's alive! Alive!
This sequel delved further into the fractured psyche of the monster to tremendous effect. Taking place immediately after the events of the first, the monster desperately seeks companionship now that he's been villainized by society. This ushers in the advent of the Bride, an equally iconic creature with fabulous hair. Her presence further fleshes out the first film's themes and provides a cathartic resolution to the saga. Number 14, Superman II. Before Spider-Man II or X2, the superhero sequel to end all superhero sequels was Superman II. Granted, the first film did make us believe that a man could fly, but this one made us believe that and then some.
I believe this is your floor.
Oh, thank God!
While the film was essentially the second half of one film rather than a direct sequel, Superman 2 still stands out in terms of excitement and character development. Superman is given more of a physical match than a 70s-era Lex Luthor could ever dream of when Zod and his Kryptonian followers return. At one point, we even feared for Superman's life.
Come to me, son of Jor-El! Kneel before Zod!
There's also more of an interesting relationship between Lois and Clark as the former discovers the latter's alter ego. Number 13, Blade 2. Another Guillermo del Toro feature, Blade 2 proved to be a sharper and more agile adventure for the Daywalker. The best thing about the trilogy will always be Wesley Snipes as Blade. Fortunately, the second installment seemed to nail his characterization more than the first.
You obviously do not know who you are f***ing with.
The film also brought back Chris Christopherson as Abraham Whistler, while adding Donnie Yen, Del Toro mainstay Ron Perlman, and Daryl Dixon himself, Norman Reedus. In typical sequel fashion, the film also ups the ante in terms of plot. As the Reaper virus threatens to upend both the vampire and human societies, enemies are forced to work together to quash it. It's a bucket full of bloody fun. Number 12, Evil Dead II. The first two entries in the Evil Dead franchise are both cult hits, but the second was lucky enough to get a much larger budget. This allowed for even more campiness, better gore, and enhanced special effects. The sequel further transcends the original by adding in a ton of horror comedy that cemented Bruce Campbell's legendary B-movie status.
That's right. Who's laughing now?
Of course, its budget was still small in comparison to other mainstream films, so it manages to retain the sense of a gritty and twisted reality that only low-budget movies can achieve.
Groovy.
Number 11, X2, XMen United. An already large cast of superheroes gets even bigger, and this sequel has the plot to go with it.
You picked the wrong house, Bob.
X2 deals with issues that resonate in real life, and that, combined with the refined action and improved performances, makes for a surprisingly grounded comic book movie. It never gets bogged down by the serious points it addresses, however, as the fight scenes are exceptionally choreographed. And we simply can't talk about the excellence of this sequel without mentioning the White House Nightcrawler scene, which is easily one of the best sequences in the entire X-Men franchise.
My God.
Number 10, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So many superhero films sacrifice intimate action for sweeping scenes of mass destruction, but that is not the case in Cap's second solo film.
Are you kidding me? He's headed for the garage. Lock down the bridge.
This movie's been compared to a Bourne-style thriller where the hero gradually unravels a mystery, filled with a building intensity all along the way. Unlike the first film, there's a greater emphasis on tight hand-to-hand combat that feels like a much better fit for the leader of the Avengers. There's also far more personal conflict than in most other Marvel movies, as Cap faces off against his best friend, Bucky Barnes.
Bucky? Who the hell is Bucky?
Number 9, Paddington II. How do you follow up what is essentially a perfect film? Simple. With a more perfect film. All kidding aside, Paddington II cleared the already extremely high bar set by the original by being more enjoyable and delightful. The prison sequence alone is already one of the funniest and most endearing parts of any movie in the last decade.
Oh, it's only one red sock. What's the worst that can happen?
And though Nicole Kidman proved to be a fantastic villain in the first film, Hugh Grant absolutely steals the show here, to the point that he had many people calling for awards consideration.
Indeed, Magwitch. And we gave quite a performance, you and I. Just like the old days.
Not convinced, the film not only holds a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than its predecessor, but also actually has an almost perfect rating at 99%. Number 8, Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior. The Mad Max series has a pretty simple list of features that make it so good. Crazy action, gorgeous cinematography, and a hero anyone can get behind. The sequel to the first movie has all of those elements in abundance, and takes the story beyond the simple detailing of the apocalypse.
But nothing could stem the avalanche. Their world crumbled. The cities exploded.
It's an exciting ride. With action that keeps up its intensity for so long, it leaves moviegoers satisfyingly exhausted. Plus, it has one of the most exhilarating climaxes ever put on screen.
It's been a pleasure doing business with you, but I'm leaving.
Number 7, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. One of the greatest challenges any Star Trek filmmaker will face is pleasing the devoted followers of the franchise.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
While the first film adaptation received mixed reviews, it was enough of a hit to warrant a sequel, restoring the faith of the fans with a successful film that pretty much saved the series.
Zulu, divert all power to phasers.
Too late.
Hang on!
The story in Wrath of Khan is incredibly strong, epic even, as it brilliantly brings back the iconic characters and a memorable foe from the original TV series. There was a lot of pressure to right the wrongs of the previous attempt, and it does that and much more.
Live long and prosper.
Number 6, Spider-Man II. This acclaimed superhero film isn't burdened by the need to tell an origin story, allowing it the opportunity to delve further into the characters we met in the first film. What's more, we're introduced to Dr. Octopus, a wonderfully insane evil genius who is brought to life by a phenomenal Alfred Molina performance and Oscar-winning special effects.
Something in my head. Something talking.
With a more sinister and captivating villain, better cinematography, and more compelling action sequences overall, it's clear that this sequel greatly improves upon the original.
I want a life of my own. You've been given a gift, Peter. With great power comes great responsibility.
It's a trend that the third film couldn't live up to. We're looking at you, emo Peter Parker, making the middle film the best in the trilogy.
Cool Spidey outfit. Thanks.
Number 5, Shrek II.
I know what every princess needs for her to live life happily.
The popularity of the first 2 Shrek movies can largely be attributed to their ability to include a little something for everyone. The original's unconventional humor and sincere message helped secure it the inaugural Best Animated Feature Oscar. But it was Shrek 2 that refined the formula to create something truly magical, turning the lovable ogre into a pop culture mainstay. Taking Shrek to meet his in-laws in the kingdom of Far, Far Away, it's a sequel that stays true to the franchise's penchant for parody, while also creating an entirely separate identity for itself. New characters like Puss in Boots and the egotistical Prince Charming keep things fresh, as does an epic soundtrack that could give any other a run for its money. Number 4, The Dark Knight. Batman Begins establishes the dark tone that defined Christopher Nolan's trilogy, but its sequel perfects the recipe.
Have all these rules, and you think they'll save you.
Add in a legendary performance by Heath Ledger, and you have the makings of one of the best comic book films of all time.
Why so serious?
The Dark Knight even transcends the superhero genre and is considered a magnificent crime thriller in its own right. The action sequences are mostly created with practical effects, making for a sense of realism that no other movie of its kind has yet been able to emulate.
Drop the gun.
Oh, sure. You just take off your little mask and show us all who you really are.
Number 3, Aliens. The unlucky Ripley has to fight the xenomorphs once more in this action-heavy follow-up to Ridley Scott's acclaimed sci-fi horror flick. There are more aliens, more guns, more classic one-liners, and somehow even more intense scares than the first film.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
It must have been incredibly difficult to improve upon a movie that's considered a cinematic masterpiece. Yet James Cameron manages to take the greatest elements from the first film, enhances them, and turns the result into one of the best action movies of the 1980s.
Don't be gone long, Alan.
Number 2, Star Wars Episode V, The Empire Strikes Back. Even though A New Hope received higher praise upon initial release, the second film in the original space opera trilogy has come to be accepted as the best in the series.
All right, I'll give it a try.
No. Try not. Do. Or do not. There is no try.
Its aesthetics, complex characters, and iconic dialogue set the standard for an entire generation of filmmakers. and the story is more intriguing than almost any other movie at the time.
You make it so difficult sometimes.
I do, I really do.
It's one of the highest grossing films ever, and is a memorable picture for many reasons, including the unforgettable twist in its final act. We're pretty sure you know what we're talking about, and that's because this film is simply inescapable. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Once again, James Cameron manages to take an already phenomenal picture and improve upon it.
The T-1000 is the same files that I do. It knows what I know. It might anticipate this move.
I don't care, we gotta stop her.
The first Terminator is essentially a stalking horror flick, but the second becomes more or less a definitive action film. The T-1000 is one of the most menacing villains ever, and the CGI that created the character revolutionized the special effects industry.
Put your weight on me, hon. Hurry!
The film took home 4 Academy Awards, which was fitting recognition for a movie that managed to expand upon its predecessor's story while also being a triumph in filmmaking. Plus, what other franchise could turn the original villain into the hero and do it so convincingly? We rest our case.
Hasta la vista, baby.
What sequel do you feel surpasses the original? Let us know in the comments.
Amazing! This is just like magic!
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.